Okay, so this is lesson 1, and we are going to cover drawing a basic fashion illustration. We're going to do it all in pencil, and I'll keep the figure really basic and straightforward for all of the beginners. So what you'll need for this lesson is very simple. You'll need paper. Watercolor paper is preferred. If you're just practicing, grab any paper that you have. Make sure you have a pencil and a good eraser, unless you're really, really good at this. And make sure your pencil's sharp. And that's basically it for step 1. We're just gonna do it in pencil. So I do wanna talk to you for a minute about talking to clients before you start this. I'm a fashion illustrator for a number of clients. And before you start poses, you want to ask a few key questions. You want to learn as much as you can about the brand, and you want to figure out what the client is looking for, because even though you might have a really great idea in your head, if that's what the client doesn't want, then you won't make any money. So ask a lot of questions before you even begin. Find out about their brand. For example, for DKNY's avatar, you will always notice that her poses are very sassy and playful, but not too cutesy. And when you see the Jack Rogers avatars on Twitter, you'll notice that the poses are more classic. You can send the client thumbnails of these poses, not even done well, just to give them an idea of capturing a pose, and that way you can all be on the same page. Be as clear as possible at this step. With these poses, this is all stuff that you can kind of keep practicing at, but today I'm going to cover how to draw a basic fashion illustration. We're going to have the pose be straight on for beginners, and then you can kind of change the pose as you get better. We're going to start with a basic figure just staring right at us, and we're going to start at the top. You can get really sketchy with this, and so you're going to start with a circle about the size of a quarter. And I used to work for Disney. They would have me draw circles over and over and over, and it's really, really important that you can do this perfectly. So that's something that you have to remember to do. Make sure that you're getting each circle just right. So you start with an actual circle, and you're going to bring 2 lines down, and this will become the bottom of the head and go right into her chin. And at this stage, you can be really, really sketchy because we're going to clean it up later. So don't be worried about, being too rigid with those lines. From there, you're going to add 2 curved lines, and this will be her neck. You will make this a little bit longer than feels comfortable, and thinner probably too. For her shoulders, at this point, you can just draw a straight line across. You want to think of this as, where the collarbone might be. And you're going to look at what you have. The head is kind of section 1 here, and we're going to move right into her chest. It's pretty easy to do. Chest and torso is going to end up looking a little bit like an hourglass, but just regular straight lines. Keep them light and really, really sketchy. Now you want to bring the waist in a little bit thinner than normal. This is because we have to add clothes to all of these illustrations, so the actual body of a fashion illustration is extremely thin and extremely long because clothes are always going to make it wider, and you have to exaggerate how clothing fits, especially if it's a drawing. We're going to go, this is going to be her chest. I always put a little bit of a guideline here just for note to myself, but you don't need to do that. This is the bottom half of the hourglass, which is what we're calling it for a minute, and these will be her hips. The second half of the hourglass should be a tiny bit longer, but not much longer. We're exaggerating everything. And I give myself another guideline here, just so I know kind of where that's ending. So right now, it looks pretty crazy, but we're gonna keep going, and we're going to add really, really long legs. These are gonna be really exaggerated. So right from the tip of the hourglass, you're gonna bring a line right down, And I like to kind of just give it a little bit of a shape. There's no way to really describe what the shape is, so just kind of bring this all the way down and do the same thing on the other end. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit thinner than normal, but that's because we have to add clothing on top of it, and that's why they're so long and lean and thin. For the knees, just little circles. And this is where it starts to almost look like one of those wooden figures that people learn to draw with. So if it's starting to look like that, then you're doing it correctly. When you get down after the knees, you're going to do the bottom of the leg. So I always bring a straight line down for the inside of the legs. And then I bring a line that curves outside and back in. And again, just keep this very exaggerated, and then I go right down into the foot. Now, on a fashion illustration, the feet look giant, and that's because you have to show the shoes. You have to illustrate the shoes. So we're just going to bring those lines straight down, and then kind of give her an area that we can add shoes to. I like to exaggerate the ankles, but really from the knee down to the floor, it can be a pretty straight line, and then this curved line will take you down to the bottom. Last thing we'll do is add some arms, 2 little oval shapes where her sockets would be, and then what you'll do is just 2 lines. This should come past the waistline. We'll just kind of taper that in. This is where her elbows would be. And then we're going to bring another kind of long triangle down past her hips. And for now, you can just kind of make a small shape, 1 line, and 2 on the outsides where her arms will be. So at this point, it should really start looking like that wooden figure that you keep on your desk to help you figure out how to draw. But we're just drawing the actual figure. And now you can see some guidelines. Before you go any further here, I like to add 2 guidelines to the head. You don't have to do this. I do it because I used to work for Disney and I was trained to do it, and now I can't get it out of my system. So that's where we are at step 1 in lesson 1, and there's actually a step 2 in lesson 1. So at this point, you can erase and you can change anything. So before going to the second part of lesson 1 in pencil, I would redo this or practice this as much as you need to, because you can start again. I want to get you at a good place before we add color. So this is where we are for step 1, lesson 1.